Hi, I'm Parni Jaggi, and today we're going to be discussing a very beautiful poem by Donne, The Ecstasy. The poem is not just metaphysical, divine, spiritual, but also beautiful in its structure and the use of devices. It portrays love in a different form altogether. So let's look at the word ecstasy, which is written with EX also and ECS also, as per the new spellings. So let's not confuse, the word is the same, the ecstasy. Now, what is ecstasy? Ecstasy is that state of mind where a person is in perfect grace, perfect rapture, perfect pleasure, happiness, which is beyond the physicality, which can only be felt. So this poem, The Ecstasy, is a remarkably subtle work, means a very fine work of thought and emotion, and perhaps the most famous of Donne's love poem. The title is apt and suggestive because the word ecstasy is derived from the Greek word ekstasis, which means to stand out. And we'll look into the poem to see how it stands out, how the poet and the beloved, they are in communion with the soul. It is not just the physical love or the emotional love or love of any worldly kinds, but they separate themselves from their bodies to feel the communion of the two souls into one. In the ecstasy, the souls of the poet and his beloved stand out, their respective bodies, and hold converse. If we subscribe to the views of the medieval and mystical era, ecstasy is a trance-like state in which the soul leaves the body, comes out, holds communion with the divine, the supreme, or the overmind of the universe. So we see it is more spiritual than a love poem. Love is elated and raised to a platform which is completely spiritual and hence blissful. So let's look at the text of the poem, The Ecstasy. Where, like a pillow on a bed, a pregnant bank swelled up to rest, the violet's reclining head, sat we two, one another's best. So from these initial lines we come to know that there are two people. So there are two lovers, poet and his beloved. So where, like a pillow on a bed, a pregnant bank swelled up to rest. So they are like sitting near the river bank, which is pregnant means it is swollen up, means it is raised high like a pillow. Look at the beautiful use of simile here. The raised river bank, which is a little raised than the ground, looks like a pillow so that they can rest. And the reclining heads of violet flowers, the beautiful purple flowers, are also reclining heads. There at that location, these two lovers are sitting. They are one another's best companions. Our hands were firmly cemented with a fast balm, which thence did spring. Our eye beams twisted and did thread our eyes upon one double string. So as simple as that, this is the stance, this is the position, they are sitting over there, their hands are joined, they are cemented with a fast balm, means it is an invisible bond, a strong bond which is tying them together, and their hands are firmly grasped with each other. Their eye beams twisted and did thread our eyes upon one double string. So it was like it appeared as if their eyes were strung together on a double thread. Their eyes were separate, but they were tied together on a thread-like structure. So to intergraft our hands as yet was all the means to make us one, and pictures in our eyes to get was all our propagation. So now, since we know the hands are joined, they are clasped together with each other, and this was the means to make us one, means this was the kind of closeness we were sharing as one. And pictures in our eyes to get was all our propagation. Pictures in our eyes means when we looked into each other's eyes, we could see the reflection of our own self. And these pictures in each other's eyes was propagating. We multiplied. We were two, but adding the reflections of our eyes, we could see each other in each other's eyes. So that was a propagation, multiplication of our love. As betwixt two equal armies, fate suspends uncertain victory. Now, as betwixt means he is using again a simile here, a comparison of his own self and his beloved, and their meeting with two armies fighting with each other. So, what happens? He says, as betwixt. Twixt is the short form of between. Betwixt two equal armies, fate suspends uncertain victories. Just as when two equally powerful armies are fighting with each other, then the decision is in the hold of fate. Uncertain victory. You're not certain who will win. If both the teams are of the same power and weightage, it depends on fate. Our souls, which to advance their state were gone out, hung betwixt her and me. He says, similarly, our souls that had left our bodies to advance to a state outside our body, that means to go beyond the physical existence to a spiritual existence, our souls are hanging somewhere between her and me. That means the physicality is now no more seen and the souls have left the bodies to hang somewhere in communion between her and me. And whilst our souls negotiate there, we, like sepulchral statues, lay all day. The same our postures were, and we said nothing all day. How beautifully he is with a proper imagery and similes, trying to portray and draw the subtleties of his love. He says, while our souls have left our bodies and they negotiate there, they communicate there at another place, they are not within our bodies now. We, meanwhile, like sepulchral statues lay. Sepulchral statues means still lifeless statues we are laying with our bodies. See, now sepulchral statues has imagery also, but it has alliteration also, sir. And how beautifully he is trying to compare that just like the statues lay still lifeless, our bodies are also lying still and lifeless because our souls have left our bodies to communicate with each other. All day the same our postures were and we said nothing all day. So we were without any movement, without any speech, because the bodies were still, they were like statues. The basic prime soul had left our bodies for a communion with each other. If any, so by love refined, that he soul's language understood, and by good love were grown all mind, within convenient distance stood. So he says, if any means any person, any stranger, anyone who might have had the experience of love or a similar process of purification. If any, so by love refined. If there is anybody who has been refined in such a way by love that he can understand the language of the soul, and by good love were grown all mind within convenient distance stood. If such a person is standing near us, close to us, within a convenience distance, whose mind has grown with good love and who can understand the language of love, he, though he knew not which soul spake, because both meant, both spake the same, might thence a new concoction take and part far purer than he came. So if there is any man who would understand the language of the soul and love, although he would not come to know which soul is speaking, because we are two souls but we are in union. He may not understand which soul is speaking because both the souls mean the same, speak the same. We are two but one. But he might thence a new concoction take. He might from this place take a new mixture, a new learning experience of love, which is a mixture of the two souls, and part means go away, far purer than he came. So if there is a person who understands the language of love more than the others, the common people, He may stand here at a convenient distance, and he will definitely take a far purer concoction, means a blended lesson, because we are two spiritual voices, but we cannot be separated. We look one. We said, and tell us what we live. This ecstasy doth unperplex. We said, and tell us what we love. We see by this it was not sex. We see we saw not what did move, but as all several souls contain mixture of things, they know not what. So he says, our souls have now reached the ecstatic position. This ecstasy doth unperplex. We have reached a position which is unperplexed, unconfused. It is very clear that we are in union. We said, and tell us what we love. We see by this it was not said. He says, we have already realized that love was not physical. Love has nothing to do with any physical experience. We see, we saw not what did move. So he says, there was once a time when we did not know what moved the body and what moved the love. But now we have discovered for the first time that love really is actually a matter of soul communion, not of the physicality or the bodily experiences. And he says, all several souls contain mixture of things. He says, now we have realized that souls are made of several elements of which we don't even know. We have no knowledge of what soul is made of. So it is love which brings together two souls and unites them. Although in reality we can see two existences differently, we can see two beings different, but we are not actually aware till we fall in love what happens to the souls. Love these mixed souls doth mix again and makes both one, each this and that. So he says it is love. Love brings two souls together, mixes them, makes them one, each this and that. So love is such a thing which keeps your existence yet blends it, merges it. You become one soul, yet you are two for the world. A single violet transplant, the strength, the color, the size, all which before was poor and scant, redoubles still and multiplies. So what happens to the violet flower? When a violet flower or a plant is transplanted, it is removed from its own original place and then it is replanted in a better place where the soil or climate may be better. What happens is there is a progress in the growth of the plant, in the color, the size and the strength. Now this is again, see, a beautiful metaphor which he is taking, that love or the soul in love can be compared to a violet transplant. When you are transplanted from your own soil to another soil which is stronger, more blissful, then definitely there is a change in strength, color and size. So this plant also sees an improvement in color, size and strength, and after it is transplanted, it redoubles itself and it multiplies. When love with one another so interinanimates two souls, that abler soul which thence doth flow, defects of loneliness controls. Now what happens when one soul unites with the other or gets transplanted into the other? Then a new soul comes into being. It interinanimates two souls. There is a mingling of two souls, and these two souls now have the elements of one another, and hence it becomes an abler soul, a more capable, a more ecstatic, a more blissful soul, which thence doth flow, defects of loneliness control. So what happens is, because of love, because of spiritual communion, you do not feel lonely anymore. Just like single souls are lonely, love actually removes that defects of loneliness. We then, who are this new soul, know of what we are composed and made, for the atomies of which we grow are souls, whom no change can invade. Now, what is the result of such a communion of souls? He says, we, as a result of love, as a result of communion, we then form a new soul. But then we also have the knowledge of what we are composed of. Now we know the elements what we are composed of because we are having spiritual experiences. For the atomies of which we grow are souls whom no change can invade. Now these substances, this realization of being a soul is permanent because no change can invade or conquer us now. But oh alas, so long, so far, our bodies, why do we forbear? But now suddenly he changes his attention to the importance of bodies. He says, but okay, so long, so far, why are we neglecting our bodies? Because the soul is placed inside the body. The soul sits inside the body. So why do we forbear our bodies? How can we ignore our bodies? They are ours, though they are not we. We are the intelligences, they the spheres. See, now again we have the use of metaphysical conceits here. The bodies are ours, although we are not bodies. We are much more than the bodies, but the bodies are ours. They are our assets. And we are the intelligences and they are the spheres. So we are like the intelligence structure and they are the spheres that move around or keep the intelligence intact inside them. We owe them thanks because they thus did us to us at first convey. So we should be thankful to our bodies because they were the ones to convey to us what actually we are and what actually we need to do. Yielded their senses force to us, nor are dross to us but ally. So these bodies are the ones who yielded, who gave us the sense organs, who made us realize that there is some physical attraction. Love starts with the sense organs. Love starts with sight and touch. It attracts other people and it attracts love too. So forces mean senses. Sense organs, he says, are equally important. They are not dross, they are not useless, but ally. Ally means alloys, fine combinations of metals, gold, silver. So they are alloys. Bodies are equally important for us. On man, heaven's influence works not so, but that it first imprints the air. So he says if we talk of divinity, heavenly influence, it doesn't work directly. It cannot work directly on us, but it moves through the air. So air is the medium. So there has to be some medium for all kinds of influences and divinities to flow. So soul into the soul may flow, though it to body first repair. Similarly, he says soul may flow into the soul, but it needs body as the medium. Just as the heavenly divinity influence needs the medium of air to reach us, similarly, soul to soul flow is possible only through the body. As our blood labors to beget spirits as like souls as it can, because such fingers need to knit the subtle knot which makes us man. So he says, just our blood wants to unite. It is an important constituent of our bodies. Without blood, we cannot exist. So when it unites in the same way, physically, in the same way, spiritually, there is a kind of an ecstasy, a subtle knot which makes us man, which unites us with each other and binds the two souls. That subtle knot which makes us man, so must pure lover's soul descend to affections and to faculties, which sense may reach and apprehend, else a great prince in prison lies. So just as blood produces those elements which bring us to the union of sense and soul, in a similar way, the lover's soul also leaves some elements like the sense and the bodily functions to express the love. So there is a role of body in spiritual love also. So the sense and the faculties of the body actually help the soul, which is like a prisoner. Just like he again brings out Beautiful metaphor here. He says, just like a prince who is imprisoned cannot gain freedom until he has some help. In the same way, the senses of the body, the sense organs of the body, the physicality of the body is also a help to the soul of the lovers who want to become free and go for the communion, spiritual communion. To our bodies turn we then, that so weak men on love revealed may look. Love's mysteries and souls do grow, but yet the body is his book. So he says, so we should turn to our bodies also. Bodies are not completely futile, they're not unimportant. We need bodies so that weak men may have a test of love. And love's mysteries and souls do grow means love is always growing as a mystery in our soul. But the body is the book. So here again a metaphor. Body is the book, and we can read this book and get inside the soul to go for the ecstatic spiritual love. And if some lover, such as we, have heard this dialogue of one, let him still mark us. He shall see small change when we are two bodies gone. So now he says, if some lover, if there is some lover like us, who has heard this kind of a dialogue, this kind of a conversation like we are having, let him still mark us, let him be with us, let him look at us, because after we come back to our bodies, we are gone inside our bodies, he will find no change. Small change means hardly any change, because we will be the same kinds of lovers again. We exist on the physical as well as the spiritual planes. So whether we come out for a spiritual communion or we go back to our bodies, he will hardly find any change in the quality and the power of our love. So this was the poem Ecstasy, how beautiful and metaphorically expressed. And the poet takes it on an altogether different plane, different level of love. So we find the themes of love, metaphysical love, spiritual love, experiential love. The poem shows how he has experienced these things, and that is why he is projecting them so clearly with a beautiful imagery. And then, yes, there is a juxtaposition of opposites, means like he mentions a prison in a prince in prison, which is a very strange simile. A prince is actually a ruler, but here he shows. Then there is a juxtaposition of the importance of physical as well as spiritual love. Now, regarding the style, we've already talked about the metaphors, the similes, the metaphysical conceits. There is a lot of imagery. Metaphysical conceits are beautifully blended within the poem. They are like indentured within the poem. Then it consists of 76 lines organized into 19 stanzas. Each line is an iambic tetrameter, and each stanza follows a basic rhyme scheme of A, B, A, B. So we see it's a highly philosophical, deep, spiritual poem, which can be truly called a metaphysical poem in the true sense of the word. So I hope this works well, as it reconciles the dichotomy between the physicality and the spirituality and gives us an altogether different meaning of love in life. So thank you for now. Stay tuned for the next videos. Bye.